What's going on, Reject Nation? Happy Monday. Before going into this, I want to say happy birthday to fellow Patroneject Matthew Beer. Happy birthday to you, bud. I put out a post on Patreon saying how much we love you, your spirit, your knowledge, your humor. Everything about you has been such a delight to get to know you over 2017, and we're still getting to know you even more right now. And you're supposed to be coming out to California around the April time. You best believe we'll kick it sometime, buddy. We love you, and I wish you were coming to our live Schmodown match. By the way, live Schmodown match. Keep a lookout for that, March 15th. Tickets available now. Before going into this story, which is about how the Naughty Dog director, whose name is Neil Druckmann, he was giving updates on the Uncharted and Last of Us movies. Uncharted was a series that I actually started playing pre-Adpocalypse, and I got to chapter 13. Adpocalypse kicked in, and I just sort of stopped playing the game, so I really have to pick it up. Last week, I just randomly started playing The Last of Us, and I've been up really late at night playing this game. It's the first game in many, many, many years where I am truly addicted to playing it, that I just want to get to the evening so I can chill out and continue playing this game. I love it. I think I'm halfway through it now. I honestly think it'll be the first game I finish. So I came across this article I thought was really interesting that just happened to come out today. The Naughty Dog creative director, Neil Druckmann, was speaking about the Uncharted movie and The Last of Us movie. So here's the first part. The Uncharted movie, in regards to the one that Tom Holland's going to be starring in and supposedly directed by Sean Levy, where it's about a young Nathan Drake, didn't sound too appealing to me, but here's what he had to say. The Uncharted movie, yeah, we've had some conversations with Sean Levy, and he's really passionate, gets it, and I think he understands where we're at. We've kind of evolved our feelings towards these kind of adaptations over the years. We used to just be excited. Oh my god, movies are looking at us. There could be an Uncharted movie on the screen. Then as more time passes on, we're not excited about a different adaptation of the story we told, because we feel like we've already told that story very well cinematically, so I don't know what else you could bring to it. Sean Levy wanting to tell a different story than the main four adventures with potentially a young Nathan Drake that fills in the gaps, I think is a lot more interesting than trying to retell Uncharted 1, 2, 3, and 4. And speaking of The Last of Us, which Sam Raimi was producing, he said that even I worked on the script for The Last of Us film, which was a direct adaptation, and now having some separation from it, I look back and I'm like, I don't want that movie to be made. This was fascinating to hear it from a creative director from the video game standpoint. You know, a lot of times we see these video game movies, and when I first heard about the Uncharted movie with Tom Holland, I was like, does anyone really want that? I don't want that. I'd rather just see a direct adaptation of Uncharted. Even playing The Last of Us, I was thinking there's a way you could trim this down to make it into a movie, or even do TV shows. It might be like an insanely huge budget for a TV show with a lot more development being had at TV, with a lot of directors and actors going to TV. They're throwing a lot more budgets at TV, so I wouldn't be surprised if we start getting some video games adapted into TV series formats, because in my personal opinion, I feel like most video game adaptations would probably work best under a TV adaptation format. But hearing what he had to say here, especially coming from the video game director's perspective, maybe he has a point actually. If you're gonna adapt a video game, is there really a point in adapting it directly? Is there a point doing a direct adaptation of any of the Uncharted games or the Last of Us game? It's funny to hear him talk about how he worked on the Last of Us script himself, and now looking back on it, he's like, nah, I don't want that to be made, because he has a strong point. Video games like Uncharted, like Last of Us, like Metal Gear Solid, are so cinematic already that they put a lot of effort and a lot of time into their script, their cutscenes, telling a really gripping, enticing story. It's probably best to just keep the story that they're telling in the video game the way it's meant to be done. Because I've taken time to watch the cutscenes. Like when it came to the Tomb Raider movie trailer coming out, I hadn't played the game. I didn't have time to, so I just took time one night to watch all the cutscenes that had a little bit of gameplay in there, and it's primarily cutscenes. And watching it, I'm like, I get what the whole story is. I feel the whole thing, and this felt like I just watched the movie. I did the same thing with the Injustice game. So now when I go to play Injustice with friends, I'm just playing the game in a versus mode, but I've seen all the cutscenes. I know the whole story now behind the first Injustice. There's a really good point he's making here, which is you don't need to make the movie when A, you could just play the game and get the movie itself from there, and it's more interactive and more fun. And a lot of the times when you try to do direct adaptations of the games itself, you try to do like the gameplay moments. It kind of just makes you wish you were playing the actual game itself. I remember when I was watching the Doom movie, they had this shot that seemed cool at first where it's all through first person point of view. Halfway through that shot, I remember thinking, I wish I was just playing the game now instead, because that feels like it would be a lot more fun. So then it goes to the argument, well, why don't you just mainly stick to adapting the parts that were cinematic, adapting the cutscenes and bringing them into real life? But graphics nowadays are so good, especially something like The Last of Us, where the attention to detail in the cutscenes is practically like you're watching real life. So there would be no point to doing it. Now, does this really get me excited for an Uncharted movie about a young Nathan Drake played by Tom Holland? Not really, but now that I get this guy's perspective, it makes me a lot more intrigued. It makes me go, oh, well, I'm definitely going to give the movie a chance now. I don't know if they're going to be making this movie anytime soon. I mean, Infinity War's coming out, and then Spider-Man Homecoming 2 is supposed to start filming soon, so based off Tom Holland's schedule, I don't know if the dude would even have the time to make it this year. Probably would have to wait till 2019 to film it. Hearing what this director had to say, it has swayed me more into that idea, that arena, because for the longest time, I've been saying, if you're going to do direct adaptations, make a TV show, so that way you can expand it and include everything as well. Like the best comparison would have to be something like Game of Thrones, where there's like a specific amount of books and they adapt the books, but then they really expand it and really create a whole bunch of new stuff and go beyond what the books do. And I feel that's something you can do with a lot of these video game franchises. The Last of Us was definitely something where when I play it, I'm thinking this could be a movie, but it already feels so much like a movie, and I think that's why it's so engrossing. After playing The Last of Us and hearing this, I'm like, well, maybe you can actually do one of those in-between stories. The problem that occurs with that, though, is I think if you were to do a Last of Us movie, you'd want to see Joel and Ellie both in the film. And I was thinking, well, the only big gap is the 20-year gap after the beginning of The Last of Us, and then it does like a 20-year jump, I think, and then you get into the story eventually with Ellie and Joel on this mission. But in The Last of Us game, it's when Joel and Ellie are meeting each other for the first time, so I don't really see how you could include Ellie if you just did a Joel story within that 20-year gap, or you did a younger Ellie story, which I don't know would be very enticing. There's all these other characters that you get teases of and make appearances in the game that you could probably do stories on, but if you're going to do a video game adaptation, it would probably have to be something more along the lines of what they're planning for Uncharted, which is you take the main character, in this case for Last of Us Joel, and you probably do a story in between that 20-year gap during when the apocalypse was really starting to come into fruition. Curious to see what you guys have to say about it. Would you guys prefer that they do direct video game adaptations of the films, in which case you would have to cut out a lot and condense it into 2 hours? Would you rather see TV shows made of these video games, or would you rather them do what they're planning on doing, what Naughty Dog director is planning on doing, which is doing movies that fill in the gaps, so to speak? Put your comments down below. And happy birthday, Matt Beer. Love you, buddy. Can't wait to see you this year. Subscribe to The Real Rejects. Click that notification bell to get notified every time one of our videos is up. And check out our Patreon. Full-length music video and TV show reactions over there. Exclusive Q&As. Check it out.